Hey there, friends, and welcome back to the Two for Tuesday podcast brought to you by Second Round Music, where every week we take a closer look into the stories behind some of the greatest music ever made. And of course, we shine the spotlight on two songs that stand out above the rest. I'm your host, Michael Present, and today we're taking a road trip from Jacksonville, Florida to Doraville, Georgia, circa early 1970s. And we're going to talk about the birth of one of the most influential Southern rock bands of all time, Lynyrd Skynyrd. So today we won't get into the Skynyrd history from start to finish. We're going to save that for a later date. But today we're going to talk about, in my opinion, one of the greatest Southern rock albums of all time. Now, before they were selling out arenas and playing Freebird to screaming crowds, they were just a bunch of high school kids with a rebellious streak and a whole lot of drive. And in 1973, they released their first album, a record that didn't just put them on the map, it defined their sound for years to come. And that album, pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd. Yeah, even the title had a personality. And today, we're going to dig deep into the making of that record, the road that led to it, the people behind the scenes, the challenges, and the moments of magic in the studio. And then we'll zoom in on two of the album's standout tracks and a couple of my favorites, Tuesday's Gone and Simple Man. So grab a glass of sweet tea, or maybe something stronger if that's your poison, and let's head back to where it all began. Now, Lynyrd Skynyrd's story actually starts well before 1973, and their roots go all the way back to 1964. But it wasn't until 1967 when Ronnie Van Zant, Alan Collins, and Gary Rossington first started jamming together in Jacksonville, Florida, along with drummer Bob Burns and bassist Larry Gunstrom. Now, at the time, they weren't even called Lynyrd Skynyrd. The band went through a bunch of names, as a matter of fact. Names like My Backyard, The Noble Five, and 1%. But by 1968, Ronnie decided that it's time for the band to get a new name because some of the audiences would taunt them by calling them 1% Talent. But by 1970, they settled on, by the suggestion of Bob Burns, on the name Lynyrd Skynyrd, a mocking tribute to Lynyrd Skynyrd, their high school PE teacher, who gave them a hard time for having long hair. Skynyrd harassed the guys so bad that Gary Rossington actually quit school. The spelling, of course, was exaggerated to be more stylish and kind of match that Southern drawl. And it was also adopted in 1969 as their official name. Now, their sound was a mix of rock, blues, and country, with a whole lot of grit. Think of the Rolling Stones meets Muddy Waters with a Southern twist. But in those days, they were mostly a regional act. They played bars and festivals and some small clubs around the South, but they hadn't broken it nationally. But that all changed thanks to a stroke of luck, or was it fate? In 1972, Al Kooper, the man who played with Bob Dylan and founded Blood, Sweat, and Tears, a jazz rock band from New York City, caught one of their sets at a club in Atlanta. And he was so impressed that he signed them to MCA Records under his Sounds of the South label. Kooper would also go on to produce this album. So before we jump into the recording of Pronounced, let's listen to a sponsored message, and I'll catch you on the other side. Are you ready to take control of your finances and build a brighter future? Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired, feeling broke all the time? My name is Michael Present, a certified master coach, and I created Second Round Financial to provide personalized financial coaching based on the proven principles of Dave Ramsey's 7 Baby Steps. Our services include, but are not limited to, one-on-one financial coaching through Zoom conference or face-to-face, budgeting strategies, debt reduction plans, emergency fund creation, retirement planning, and investment guidance. Well, why choose us? Because we believe in empowering our clients with the knowledge and tools they need to achieve financial peace. With our guidance, you'll gain clarity over your financial situation, develop a realistic and achievable plan, and experience hope and confidence in your financial future. I have over 15 years experience teaching and guiding families in the Ramsey Principles, along with a degree in finance and work experience in the banking and insurance industries. So let's get started today. Go to secondroundfinancial.com and click Book Now to schedule your free consultation today. The recording session of Pronounced took place in a studio called Studio One in Doraville, Georgia. Now, the band's lineup at that time was Ronnie Van Zant on lead vocals, obviously, Gary Rossington and Alan Collins on guitar. Ed King was actually on the bass, and he played some guitar on some of the tracks. Billy Powell played piano and keys, and Bob Burns played the drums. Al Kooper, their producer, well, now he also played bass on some tracks, and he also played an instrument called a Mellotron, along with singing some harmonies on some of the tracks also. Now, from the start, Ronnie Van Zant was the leader in the studio, but he had a philosophy too. He liked to sing songs in just a few takes to keep the performances raw and real, and he believed that over-rehearsing or polishing things too much would strip the soul out of the music. I kind of agree with that. Now, the sessions were laid back, but they weren't lazy. This band worked hard to capture the energy of their live shows, and they also had a rule. If it didn't give you goosebumps, well, it wasn't good enough. The album's mix of 2 and 3 guitar interplay, song lyrics, and Southern pride, well, it set it apart from anything else that was coming out at the time. And when it was released on August 13th of 1973, it wasn't an instant chart topper. But word did spread fast, and critics noticed the band's authenticity, and slowly it began to catch fire. But its biggest push came from a friendship between Al Kooper and the Who guitarist Pete Townshend. Now, that relationship brought about Lynyrd Skynyrd being the opening act on the Who's Quadrophenia tour. This would take them from being a regional band to exposing them to a much larger audiences, larger than anything they had seen before. And they also became a much more national act.
Tuesday's gone with the wind. My baby's gone with the wind.
Now let's talk about one of the most beautiful and surprisingly bittersweet tracks on this album, Tuesday's Gone. This is the second track on Pronounced, and it stands out from the band's harder edge songs because it's slow and almost has a mournful feel to it. It's a ballad about change, loss, and moving on, and it was deeply personal for Ronnie Van Zant. At the time, Ronnie was dealing with a breakup of a relationship, and the song reflects that sense of something slipping away. But Tuesday, well, it wasn't necessarily a person. It was more of a metaphor of that feeling you get when you know a chapter in your life is closing. Now, Ronnie co-wrote this song with fellow bandmate and guitarist Alan Collins. Now, one of the track's signature touches comes from producer Al Kooper, who added this Mellotron strings to give it this haunting kind of orchestral feel. He also did some harmony background vocals on this track. And here's an interesting fact. Bob Burns didn't play the drums. That was done by Robert Mix of the Atlanta Rhythm Section, who was a friend of the band at the time. And get this, he played this song in one continuous take. No edits, no cut-ins. Tuesday's Gone became a fan favorite, but it never actually charted as a single. Still, it's been covered by bands like Metallica, and it's kept alive on classic rock radio ever since. It's a perfect example of how Skynyrd could rock it out hard, but also tug at your heart.
Mama told me when I was young, sit beside me, my only son.
Now, if Tuesday's Gone is about letting go, Simple Man is about holding on to values, to roots, and to wisdom passed down through the generations. Simple Man was inspired by a real conversation between Ronnie Van Zant and guitarist Gary Rossington. See, Ronnie's grandmother had passed away, and his mother, Lacey Van Zant, was giving him some heartfelt advice. Be a simple man. Don't get caught up in chasing money or fame. Be honest, be good, and live with integrity. Ronnie was so moved during the conversation between he and Gary that he started writing the lyrics right there in the rehearsal space. And that afternoon, the band worked out the music, built on a driving but uncluttered guitar riff that lets the words breathe. Interestingly enough, Al Kooper didn't originally want to include Simple Man on the album. He thought it was weak, too long, and didn't fit the rest of the tracks. Now, I find Al's take very interesting that the song is too long. Simple Man is 5 minutes and 57 seconds long. Tuesday's Gone is 7 minutes and 32 seconds long. And Free Bird is 9 minutes and 8 seconds long. So I'm not real sure what old Al was thinking on this song. But now Ronnie insisted. And since the band and Al were at an impasse, Ronnie walked Al out to his car, told him to stay there until he came back to get him. So the band, minus a producer, went back into the studio and recorded the song on their own. And in the end, it became one of the band's most beloved songs. Today it's considered a Southern rock anthem, and it's often played at funerals, graduations, and anywhere people need a reminder of what really matters in life. I've actually heard that it's been played at wedding receptions as the mother-groom dance. Now, if that ain't redneck, brother, I don't know what is. Hey guys, thank you for listening today, and I hope you're enjoying this podcast. If you are, please subscribe or follow the podcast, click the like button, share it with other music lovers, and please consider giving it a 5-star rating so we can reach a bigger audience. Now back to the show. When Pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd came out, it didn't set the world on fire overnight, but it did plant seeds. The album would eventually go double platinum, thanks in large part to the tour with The Who and also the band's own constant touring schedule and word of mouth. Now, songs like Give Me 3 Steps, Tuesday's Gone, Simple Man, and of course Free Bird became staples not at just Skynyrd shows, but of American rock culture. The record also helped define Southern rock's sound, one that bands from 38 Special to the Marshall Tucker Band would build on. Now, sadly, just a few years later, tragedy would hit the band in 1977 with a plane crash that took the lives of Ronnie Van Zant, Steve Gaines, and Cassie Gaines. But the music from this debut album remains a snapshot of a hungry young band with everything to prove. And they proved it in spades. And that's our deep dive into Pronounced, Lynyrd Skynyrd's bold, soulful introduction into the world. And as always on the 2 for Tuesday podcast, brought to you by Second Round Music, we celebrated it by giving you a little extra love on 2 great tracks off that album. So if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts, share it with your fellow music fan friends, and let me know, hey, what's your favorite track off that album? I'd love to hear your stories. So until next time, I'm Michael Present, and remember, not only do we love you and we need you, but sometimes the simplest songs carry the biggest truth. God bless you.